And salutations, I'm Gil.
And I'm Gil, and this is Strategic Prepper.
You've now begun to prep. You've begun to take personal responsibility for you and your family's safety during an emergency, during SHTF, during any type of disaster. You've taken responsibility. That's a great first step. But you have found that acquiring gear, acquiring supplies is a lot easier than acquiring skills. Hi, I'm Gil, and this is Strategic Prepper. And today, we're going to talk about one of those skills, and that's gardening. This is not a show to show you how awesome we are, because we are not awesome. We are in the skill development area. And we're going to talk about the step-by-step approach, how you can start small and learn big skills. Again, this is not a video to show you a great farm. There are a number of great videos out on the internet where people have done very well. This is a beginner's video to show you early steps on building skills. Some skills like gardening take years to develop. And I'm at the early stage. My son Gil Jr., who you'll also see, is at the early stage in these skills. And we just want to encourage you and show you what beginning looks like. So let's go on outside and let's take a look at some gardens. This is a look of my garden here at this house. I want to start with my trees over here. I've got a couple of Satsuma or tangerine trees, and they look a little weak right now, but the Texas frost, this one looks weaker, it's newer. The Texas frost nearly killed them, so they're just coming back from being pretty dormant. As you can see, I've had to learn to care for these plants, get them the nutrients, and we've also had a lot of rain. I think that has caused some of the damage here. But we do have a success with this tree coming back. I doubt there'll be any fruit on it this year, but for the long term, these two trees will make it. Takes years, takes lots of practice. Let's come over here. These are my berry bushes. I've got a couple of aronia berries. Blackberries. We can look down the line. Strawberries and blueberries. Number of blackberries are growing. And again, berry bushes take some time to learn. Love the look of that flower. And we are going to have a harvest this year. Let's look at the strawberries. Looks like there are some strawberries in here. One of the things that we learned is that we need netting on our berry bushes. And you can see the white netting here. This is to protect the blueberries. Let's walk down there. We can see plenty of blueberries starting to grow. Here as well, plenty of blueberries starting to grow. The reason that we've learned to do this is the birds will come and eat our berries, eat the fruit out. So we want to make sure that the berries survive to harvest. So we've taken to netting, one of the many things that we've had to learn. Some of these bushes are new this year, and some of these bushes are in their third year, and it takes years to grow some berry bushes. So let's go on to the other plants. Got a couple of basil here. Got more basil later on. Several peppers. And again, notice that there's not a lot of each. This is not about growing a big farm at this point. This is about learning skills. So I don't need 100 plants to learn skills. I just need a few of each type. And I've got some tomatoes, cherry tomatoes. And let's walk over here. Growing some rosemary. These basil, they have been producing like crazy over here. I've got more basil than I know what to do with, and I'm ready to trim these down again. They're doing quite well. So we've learned quite a bit on basil. Struggling a little bit this year on the spinach. And only one pea came up, and it is not doing well. So we are slowly learning. Not everything is a success, but the point of this video is to show what it looks like to learn. It's not a huge garden. We're taking different varieties of plants. We're experimenting, and we're trying to learn how to plant, how to nurture the plants, and how to just get that green thumb so that we can get some fruit. Next year we are going to actually go with some raised bed gardens, and we're going to try a larger volume and more variety. Now Gil Jr. also has his garden, so let's hear from Gil and hear how he's doing with his skills development.
Welcome to Strategic Prepper. I'm Gil. We're going to talk about food production. I got you guys in the garage right now, kind of get you out of the wind. There'll be a separate portion of this video where we go out to the backyard and we'll kind of see what I've been growing and whatnot. First thing you'll notice is there's not a lot of acreage. This isn't a farm. Some of you guys have been saying, wait a minute, I thought the goal was supposed to be for us to be self-sufficient, and you're right. However, you know, one of the things we always talk about is that overall strategy, right? So this is part of that long-term plan. I'm hoping to be, by the end of the year, to be in a different property, more acreage, and I can really start expanding the food production. However, you know, this is where I'm at now. So looking at all my other systems, remember, I'm trying to grow things in concentric circles. And now I'm at that stage, all right, hey, I've got food stored up, and I've got my water, my tactical medical training and supplies and skill building. I'm at that stage where I need to start thinking about food production. It's definitely a skill set. You know, you're not gonna just have a bag of seeds and immediately be able to start producing food, right? This is a skill set that takes time to develop. As I show you guys what I've done, I'll talk about some of the mistakes I made last year. This is my second year in the food production. And one thing to note too is, you know, part of the plan is for me to move and to get a larger property, but you know, with everything going on and economic uncertainty, who knows? I might be stuck here, right? That's always a possibility. If economically things take a dump, or there's a huge downturn, there is a possibility I'll be stuck here. And if I did nothing and waited for on the hope that I'd be moving, you know, I'd be in a bad position. So part of it is that skill building. Start small, figure out what works, figure out what didn't work. You know, right now I'm looking at what kind of food grows well in my climate. I'm trying to grow food that has a high output. Right, so some food produces a lot of calories, some crops are high output versus some of them are not. So I'm experimenting with that, trying different growing methods every season. And that way, hopefully when I am able to move, hopefully by the end of this year, I'll have done some of that homework. I'll have some of that skill set done to where I'll be able to really jump into it a lot more. Of course, you know, livestock is part of the plans too. But this will be good. You'll see what you could do in the suburbs, you know, whether you're still living in an apartment and you've got that long-term plan to move out into some property. There are some things that I've grown in buckets that you could grow. I've got a raised bed garden, and so I'll take you guys out there and you guys can see what I've been doing. All right, so let's take a look at what we got. I've got some potatoes here in these 20-gallon buckets. Now, last year I had tried to grow some in buckets and then also in the raised bed garden. They did better in the buckets, so I'm going to try them all in buckets this year. The only problem I ran into was last year I had waited too long to harvest them. And so I got pretty good production, but they're all rotten. So I've got some golden potatoes and some red potatoes here. And so I'll be covering these up, and then as they grow, I'll pouring more dirt and more dirt on top of them. Potatoes are a pretty good choice. They're relatively easy to grow, and they have a relatively high output, high caloric output. That's one of the reasons why I chose them. This year I also added these columnar apple trees. So you can grow them in a bucket, which is good because I don't want to, I don't want large trees and I want to be able to move them. They'll grow up to about 8 foot tall, so I'll probably prune them to where they get smaller. But the big thing is they don't grow out as much. You'll get apples that'll grow along this main stem, so that's new for this year. Last year I had pretty good luck with the strawberries. Had a good output. The only problem is I kind of screwed up winterizing them, so you can see they're all dead, so I got some more coming. Last year I did, I believe they were June bearing. No, they were ever bearing. This year I'm going to do a variety of June bearing and ever bearing, so we'll kind of see how that ends up working. You know, one of the things you want to do is as you plan out your growing is planting different varieties of plants and then staggering your planting of them. That way you get a harvest throughout the year instead of all of them coming up at once. Right here, this is new for this year. I've got some cayenne peppers that I'm going to try growing. My brother-in-law has been growing these, and he's been having pretty good luck, so I figured it might not be a bad idea to have some peppers to provide some flavor. Here I got tomato plants. So last year, we talk about overall strategy, right? Being that I was new to this last year, I had grown Juliet tomatoes. So the reason being is they're a little bit larger than cherry tomatoes, and the smaller tomatoes are less susceptible to insects and splitting. Now, since I had success last year, I'm going to try growing some slightly larger varieties this year, one of them being a determinate type and another one being an indeterminate type. So we'll see what kind of luck I got with those. Some Mountain Fresh ones here and some Rutgers here. I do like keeping them in the buckets. Tomatoes can be somewhat sensitive to temperature, and here, we don't get hurricanes, but we get decent sized storms. So being in the buckets is nice because I can move them. I can move them inside. It also allows me to plant a little earlier than I might otherwise plant, because if we got a frost, I can just move them inside. So I also planted this last year, is a semi-dwarf peach tree. And so it's been doing pretty good. Yeah, look at that. Little miniature peaches everywhere. And so that's one of those things, right? The best time to plant a fruit tree was 10 years ago. The second best time is today, right? So last year, Lowe's had a good deal on them, and sure, I don't plan on being here that long, but like I said earlier, it's experience. And then also, heck, who knows? With the way things are going, if I can't leave, or if I don't have the money to sell and leave and whatnot, I'll be glad that I started that when I did. So here I have the raised bed garden that I'm doing. Last year, and if I find some pictures up, we'll probably insert them into the video. Last year I was trying to keep the cost down, so I just dug rows into the dirt. It actually worked pretty well. So this year, of course, this year lumber's 2 or 3 times as expensive as it was before, but I got 2x12 planks. It's a 6x12 plot basically, and what I've done, those are just standard pine, and I coated them with boiled linseed oil to help protect them a little bit. And you could see I've got the post down the middle, so the boards are screwed into each other and into that post. And then I have about halfway down, I have one on the outside, and I did measure and level everything, but you can tell the wood planks are not perfectly straight. So, but more or less it's there. So I just planted today, so you can see, obviously I've got some cleanup to do. But one little side note, right? I have a generator for some short-term emergencies. I can run my refrigerator and whatnot, but you always want to make sure that the fuel you run through, it's treated, and then also you want to run it about once a month, once every other month. And so whenever I got work like this, like that electric tiller, it's a good opportunity to use a generator. So instead of plugging that generator, or not the generator, instead of plugging that tiller into the wall, I whip out the generator, plug it in there. So it's just a little thing to think about as you're doing this kind of work. Think about all your other systems and how you could use them. So here I've got, actually let me relocate. So I've got 2 rows of onions. Onion starts I just put in there. Again, onions relatively robust, easier to grow. you get some good output with the onions. That's one of the reasons why I chose them. When I was planting this last year, you know, you could see I've got it in between the house and the fence. So sunlight's somewhat limited. There's, you know, it's gonna be less sunlight than the middle of the yard. So I started looking up, you know, what other people were doing and what plants did well with shade. And so that combined with which ones are easier to grow, which ones are not picky about soil type, which ones produce a decent amount, all these factors went into you know, my overall strategy and planning for the garden. So 2 rows of onions. I've got 2 more rows of spinach coming up. I just planted them today. We planted those last year as well. They actually did pretty dang good. I'm going to put in a row of spaghetti squash right down the middle. I got to wait probably another 4 weeks before I can do that. And then I also put in right here running this way. So running lengthwise. I've got sugar snap peas that are just planted as well. So yeah, you know, not a bad plot. Naturally, if I can move and whatnot and get larger property, the plan would be to obviously do this on a much larger scale. But doing this in this fashion gives me the experience, right? It's a skill building. It helps me supplement my current groceries and whatnot. But the big thing is learning what works and what doesn't work, right? So last year I tried planting onions in the dirt and in buckets. I had really good success both ways. So I said, you know what? Let me do it all in just the garden this year and see how it works. Especially since it's a raised bed, I should get better results. Whereas last year I got much better results on the potatoes by doing them in the bucket. So I moved them all over to the bucket. I got good results with the spinach, so I'm trying those out again this year. And that's about it. You know, I'm growing more than I did last year. You know, last year I only did 2 tomato plants. Now I'm doing 4, and I added another bucket of potatoes. So it's going to be 3 full buckets of potatoes, 2 apple trees. One thing to note too that I forgot to mention about the peach tree. One of the reasons why I chose the peach tree, it's a semi-dwarf. Also, peaches are self-pollinating. So you don't need anything else. Now these apple trees here do need pollinators. So these are 2 different species of apples. And so that's why they're next to each other to help them get pollinated, but also their presence is going to help that peach tree. Although it doesn't need a pollinator, when you do have one, it does tend to help. And then when those strawberries come in, I will be planting those as well.
All right, I also wanted to add a little bit of a follow-up. As we can see, we zoom in, my satsumas are beginning to recover nicely. This one too. We see here, it's come back to life, nice and bright green. We can see in the tomatoes, we've had to add some netting because the birds are eating the food faster than we can pick it. But we've been getting a real good harvest of cherry tomatoes, pretty decent harvest of regular tomatoes. We still see there's a small one there. One's ready to pick. A few other big ones growing. Pretty good harvest on peppers. The leaves look a little wilted right now. I think it's too much rain. We've had a lot of rain, so we're hoping that things will dry out a little bit. But we'll check out that soil. Let's do that right now. All right, we're gonna water these things today. More peppers. And lots of peppers coming in. These peppers are gonna look nice. Lots of these on this plant. These basil plants are doing well. I don't know what that one just looks different than the others. The leaves look different. But these basils, my asparagus, oh my
gosh, it's just growing like a weed. It's awesome. More basil. This might as well be a basil farm over here. Lots and lots of basil. We decided to let this one go to flower. Maybe see if we can get some seeds from it. Aronia berry bushes are growing. I have a couple of these growing here, and I don't know what they are, and the internet has not really helped me much. So, if anyone here knows what that is that an apple tree? I don't know. Let me know. Do you know, Samson? Samson. Samson. Do you know? You don't know? Okay. Raspberries. Been getting some good raspberries. So one thing I notice, see if I can do this here. We have been having some great growth on the raspberry bushes. These vines, these branches are just growing like crazy, really spreading out. Strawberries, since we took the first video, the strawberry plants have really grown. We get lots of strawberries from these. We see more flowers coming in. And let's see if there's anything small. Okay, I do see some green strawberries growing. So we may not have any strawberries for a couple of days, but we've been eating quite a few. And our 6 blueberry plants, I have gotten a total of 2 blueberries from them. These are getting close. And these are a little farther off. More close. So blueberries are a little later, so we'll get those blueberries. So that's the update. Oh, hold on. I can show you one. One pea plant. We had a grape that we tried to kill, and it's coming back to life. I believe that's a sweet potato. We had sweet potatoes last year, and we have several popping up through. Okay, that's that.
Hey guys, this is 6 weeks in, so let me show you what I got. Strawberries are growing pretty good. Tomatoes are coming along good. I've had some watering issues lately, so that's why you've seen the leaves discolor, but I'm already starting to produce some tomatoes. So I got these 4 plants here, cayenne peppers. You see I'm starting to produce some peppers. All right, let's go walk over to the trees. All right, so you see my little columnar apple trees are doing pretty good. My peach tree is producing some peaches. So that's doing all right. All right, so you can see I got my rows of onions. Onions are taking pretty good. My peas are struggling. I was gonna wait to put a trellis in, but I'm thinking maybe I need to do it now because everything in contact with the ground is kind of struggling. My spinach is struggling, which I'm not sure why, because last year I had no problems with spinach and this year I'm having some issues. So I'll probably end up planting some kind of summer variety, because I don't think this is going to turn out too good. Here you guys can see some more of my bucket plants. I got my potatoes. Potatoes are all doing pretty good. And then my onions that I put in the buckets, those are doing pretty good too. Last year I spaced them far apart more. This year I'm trying to cram more together just to see how they turn out. So far so good.
Now you've seen 2 different people, both trying to learn a new skill. This is what we talk about with a step-by-step or incremental approach to prepping. Don't try to get it all at once. We have different levels in our system where we try to develop skills and supplies to help us last for 3 weeks, 3 months, a year, 3 years, in steps, a continuous improvement or progression. So this is how the system works. Sometimes you're just not going to be great in first level in a skill or in a set of supplies. That's okay, as long as you're getting better and you're getting more well-rounded. You don't want to be focused on a certain skill set and leave other skill sets behind. For me, one of the skill sets I was weak on and still am learning is the gardening. So I put some energy into that, and I come up with a plan to progress over a period of time. That's what this is about. That's what our system is about. All right, thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below with some ideas and suggestions. Stay safe and stay prepared. Thank you.